back, and joining us in the studio now is Jiten Shah, who is the Executive Director of the Green River Area Development District. Jiten, welcome to the show. Now, this is going to be a little different for you this time because you have usually in my seat for your grad dialogue show. Now, how long have you been doing that show?
Oh gosh.
I mean, because it's before my time.
Yes. I would say maybe about 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah, I think the time that you guys started, the
Right.
TV show, the old campus and everything
Right.
else, I think Grad Dialogue was one of the first shows that we did that. By the way, honored to be on your show, John. I've been seeing you behind the camera,
Right.
and now, it's in front of me.
Right.
This kind of humble for me because now I can realize, some of the guests, especially my staff, say, "Oh, I don't want to be on the show."
Right.
Now I know how they would feel, to be on the hot seat.
Absolutely, because I have done that before myself, and I don't feel comfortable in that seat.
I know.
As comfortable as I feel in this seat. So, yeah, this is going to be a change for you. Well, listen, the reason I have you on the show is because I really want you to give our viewers an explanation, overview. Really, what is the purpose? What is Grad? What is the purpose of Grad?
I think that's a good question. Grad, we are almost celebrating the 48th year of existence, and I've been with them since '73 or so. However, it's always a challenge of telling them, what is Grad, what do we do, and everything else. Like we did the Grad Dialogue for the main reason for that is to tell the community, and especially in Davis County, who we are, what we do, and what different things we do, and kind of great avenue. And thank you guys. It's probably one of the most efficient use of the public dollars for us to do the Grad Dialogue and everything else. We do, we have very strong on the Facebook. That Grad does a great job in communication issues and everything else, all because we want to tell the people what we do. Grad is one of the 15 regional councils, or the area development districts, we call it, in Kentucky. Every state in the nation has a similar regional planning and development agency.
Okay.
Some people call different names and everything else, but there are. And the main reason being, Kentucky, when this was done in 1968 or so, we have 120 counties and about 450 plus the cities. Some of the cities are less than 100 people. Some of the counties are less than 2,000-3,000 folks. However, every community has to follow certain state and federal rules and regulations. They got to have their budget. They got to have personnel policies. Somebody got to seek the funding for roads improvement, sidewalks, or community facilities, or a water line, sewer line. And sometimes those small cities cannot hire the professional staff that they could do collectively. And that's what the main concept for the Grad. When Grad was designed, like any other ad districts in Kentucky, our main emphasis was roving city manager. We have a city manager at that time, or a staff person, now they call public administration specialist, who would visit all the cities and counties and ask their staff, hey, what can we do? Can we meet these regulations, or this, by the way, something is more changed on the tax rates, we need to help you guys do different things. So that was the main thing. Then it's just exploded because people saw in Washington and Frankfurt that, this is the, vehicle for us to spend tax dollars for the purpose they've been authorized by Congress, and also be accountable for that too.
I see. Well, that makes perfectly good sense.
Thank you.
It really does.
That's pretty easy, wasn't it?
It was. That was great. Now, what type of assistance do you offer? What areas do you offer assistance in?
Okay. As I said earlier, the original purpose was a roving city manager. Then we became the grant writer, in a sense. The Economic Development Administration, which is a U.S. Department of Commerce, they provide us funding to do economic development planning for the region.
Okay.
And by doing the planning, we assess the need, and then how we can get the federal funds to meet those or implement the programs. So we do community facilities planning, water, sewer, roads, bridges, the housing construction, housing rehab. Then we got into the social service side of it too. The Congress saw that the same vehicle that they use for HUD and some other funding source, we can also use that with the Older Americans Act. So they authorized us to become the official regional agency to implement aging program.
Okay.
You know, so for the 7 counties, we provide all the aging services, or at least we contract with the professional providers. Like we have a canteen, for example, in Owensboro, they make around 1,100 plus meals a day for us, and those things get distributed to all 7 counties and all the senior centers, and also people's homes, those who are staying inside in their homes.
Right.
So we do all the aging services. We do the newest one we have is do the Medicare waiver program. So we have about 450 some plus clients, and these are the folks that used to get services from the state. Now that individual client is responsible to deciding how and who could provide service for them, and we provide the professional side of it, and visit every month, and those kind of. So we kind of expanded a lot. When I started out with Grad, we were 6 employees, and now we have probably close to with the full time about 70 and another 30 or so part time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, what is here's are you funded by state and federal government?
That's another great question that we get. Who gets the money to Grad to do things they're doing?
Right.
We get state funding, federal funding, and the local funding.
Oh, okay.
The local communities, and I'm saying we are so lucky that for 47 plus years, so every cities and counties provide the dues to Grad.
Okay.
Right now, the dues are $1 per person per year that every city county give us. We use that money to match some of the state and federal money to bring in here. We use that money to do some of the things that we cannot use federal funds, such as doing a TV show or something like that.
Okay.
Otherwise, most of the funding we get is from the federal government. Majority of them come through Frankfurt, and then Frankfurt to us. There is also funding. The General Assembly in the state of Kentucky, they appropriate, for the area development districts, and along with some programs. We get the Homeland Security funds from federal government. We get the regional transportation planning, that we use that to decide what different types of projects we should put together to be in the 6-year highway plan, so that they could fund the, just like the Ohio River Bridge study and everything else. Then we get also federal funds for the aging programs. They'll come from Washington to Frankfurt to us. So it's a combination of all 3 different sources of money that we get.
Okay. Now, what you have a governing board.
Absolutely.
And how is that makeup of that board determined?
Yeah. That's a great question, because everything we do, we have to be accountable. And we have to be accountable locally to our board. We have to be accountable to the people who give us the money. And we also have to be accountable to the public and the media, because again, we are protecting the tax dollars.
Right.
And the last thing you want to do, people have to question about, are we spending the money wisely, correctly, or ethically, and everything else. So we have board of directors. Right now we are around 34 board of directors that govern Grad. Every judge executive in 7 counties are on the board. Along with that, the mayor of the city of Owensboro, city of Henderson, and then smaller communities, all the mayors themselves decide who should be representing the mayors on the Grad board. Then we have minority folks. We have 1 minority member from eastern part of the district, which is Owensboro and Ohio, McLean, and Hancock counties. Then we have another minority member from the Henderson part of the district. And those are nominated through the NAACP and then the Human Relations Commission, the minority group. In addition, we have 2 legislators that are on the board. This year we have Representative Tommy Thompson on the board, and we are honored to also have Senator Dorsey Ridley from Henderson on the board. And then we have, like any public agency, there are committees. And there is a committee of experts, and let's say in transportation, they decide how to spend the transportation dollars and priorities and everything else. The chairman of that committee serves on the Grad board, so that knowledge becomes available to the other elected officials, about what's going on in transportation. Similarly, we have in aging services, we have the workforce development side of it, economic development committee. So all the committee chairmen also sit on the Grad board. So that's why we have. Plus, we have 1 citizen member per county, which is appointed by the mayors and the judge collectively. So that make up the difference. Us 34 board members.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this: what is a few major projects that you've personally been involved in since your time with GRAD that you're especially proud of?
It's kind of a good question because the projects is always kind of relative to which one they like and everything else. I think the biggest thing that I can think of that have a long-lasting impact that we have here. Early years, we did the riverport planning. That was done to GRAD. Then we got the funding from EDA to do those things. And Air Park is one of them that we also got through that doing those things. We have done the feasibility for the Ohio River Bridge. That was one of the things that we started out as a project. Now it's a reality. And those are some of the key projects that we did here. But you could drive on every part of the district, and you can pinpoint almost everything that happens in the region. GRAD had a role into that. Maybe we identified a project and then we got the funding to get together do those things. I can go back to some of the large project that we did was the synthetic fuel planning. When we thought there going to be so many synthetic fuel plants going to come to the this region, and unfortunately it didn't happen. However, from that whole process, we got the Scott paper here. So because the site was done, so that was great to to do the get a big industry and everything else.
Well, it seems like GRAD is really see. I didn't know that you had anything to do with the riverport. So really, GRAD is almost a little bit behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
On a lot of things. You're not really out front on a lot of these things. You're behind the scenes helping coordinate all that.
Right.
Well, great. Well, listen, Jiten, how can people find out more information about GRAD? Give us those details.
They can always call GRAD office, anybody, and call me, at 926-4433. They can go on the GRAD website, grad.com. We have a Facebook. We have a YouTube channel. Also watch the GRAD Dialogue.
That's right. That's right.
And then we have a social media as well as we do the e-newsletters and paper newsletters. So the best way is to just this days of time. Go on the social media or go on the website or just right away call the GRAD office.
Well, great. Jiten, thanks for joining me today.
John, thank you very much. And this is, now I can see, you never know what kind of question is going to come to you.
New learning experience.
Yes, exactly.
I think your employees
I'll
will
be more humble
it.
to my guests too when they come in.
That's right. Oh, thanks for tuning in on behalf of everyone here at OCTV. We thank you for tuning in. Have a great summer, and we'll see you right back here in September.